from the Instagram account of the New York Times. And this is basically what they have to do now, is put entire articles into social media posts, because the actual articles are behind a paywall, and I'm not exactly sure who they're expecting to still be paying for that. Ask the Washington Compost about it. But they say Donald Trump and his allies are preparing for his potential return to power. Here are some of his plans for immigration, the Justice Department, presidential authority, trade policies, and the military if he wins a second term. And they have really struck a chord with this. It's going viral. All of the media talking heads and, Charlemagne the Fraud are reposting this because it's really super scary. If Trump wins, how Donald Trump and his allies plan to radically reshape the United States government if he is reelected. But my name's Eric. This channel is called Report and Opine. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm absolutely begging you.
I'm begging you, please. Come on, please.
It would help me a lot. It would cost you nothing. If you wanted to help me even more and spend a little bit of money, go ahead and buy my book, New York City 2020, Gotham Unglued. But here they are trying to scaremonger with a whole bunch of things that people like, and this is the original post from the New York Times, of course, and there's a couple others from Joyless, Trump wig wearing Orwell Reed, and Charlemagne the Fraud. And you can see a little bit of a difference in the comments. And here, now these are people that I actually follow, so of course they're going to put those up front and center. And there's me, very scary. I much prefer the crime-ridden trash heap that we have. We don't need more reasons. And then here's the first one. These are terrifying plans, which I think is serious. And then here's actress Holly R. Pete. You forgot women's productive rights. Yeah, so we want to make sure that we can bin those babies. And here's some sort of virtue signaler. Just returning from Europe, they clearly understand Trump this time around. The vast majority of questioning was about the lack of judgment and morality of the American people. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. It is mind-blowing that there is no law prohibiting a convicted felon. Yep, and that's what it's all been for. A vote for Trump is a vote for fascism. Jesus wept. In other words, this isn't the time to be screwing around with third-party throwaway votes. So actual fascism. Yeah, and of course, here's the list, right? Those are some of the comments in response to what the New York Times is putting on this list. And if you just think about it for 2 seconds, it really doesn't sound that bad. In fact, I could argue it sounds quite good. Crackdown on illegal immigration to a radical degree. Wait, so it says illegal. I'm surprised they even use the term illegal in discussing this, but it is illegal. So I don't know what can be so radical about enforcing the law. Carry out mass deportations. Check. Sounds good to me. Increase the number of agents for ICE raids. Build camps to detain immigrants. Now, again, here we are. It says illegal in the headline, but then it says detain immigrants. So are you talking about penalizing the actual criminals? Or are people showing up at the door and doing the paperwork and paying the money, and then they're getting put into a camp? It's all fake. Push for other countries to take would-be asylum seekers from the U.S. Yeah, because nobody else wants the criminal illegals that apparently work for the Democrats now. I don't know. Nobody wants them. So, yes, true. Once again, ban entry into the U.S. by people from certain Muslim-majority nations. Try to end birthright citizenship. And that's probably the best one. That's the one that's really being taken advantage of, right? So, obviously, the asylum system is clearly being taken advantage of. But go to the Row Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. It's an absolute baby mill. And there's stories out of Florida. There's stories all over the place. Chicago recently, where these, this poor migrant just showed up and can't get a job and can't get a house. And now she's about to have a baby. Yeah, they're dropping anchor babies left and right. And we need to stop that loophole that these people are taking advantage of. But it goes on. Use the Justice Department to prosecute his adversaries. That's strange. Direct a criminal investigation into President Biden and his family. And they've done that to Trump himself how many times over? Have foes indicted for challenging him politically. I mean, I can't even believe they're actually saying this, right? because it has to boomerang directly back in their face. Target journalists for prosecution. They're literally putting Steve Bannon. Okay, now Bannon, I guess, is perhaps more than just a journalist, but they're literally doing everything that they're claiming Trump is going to do, and it's so scary. And the people in the comments of the New York Times post can't tell. I guess, I mean, that's how strong the brainwashing is. Increase presidential power. Oh, sort of like how Bo Biden said that, the Supreme Court tried to stop me from eliminating student loan debt, but I did it anyways. And then the CDC decided that you don't have to pay rent, right? Is it kind of like that? Bring independent agencies under presidential control. Revive the practice of impounding funds or refusing to spend money that Congress has appropriated. Yes, because they are clearly part of this problem. Strip employment protections from tens of thousands of career civil servants. Oh, that to me sounds exactly like draining the swamp, which I think would be good, but he probably won't even be able to get done. Strip employment protections from tens of thousands of career civil servants. That's just a nice way of saying the permanent state employees. Purge officials from intelligence agencies, law enforcement, the State Department, and the Pentagon. Yeah, I mean, it's all bloated and it needs to be taken care of. There are criminal bureaucrats, permanent state employees, or the deep state, as some might say.
There is no deep state.
There's no deep state. There's no great spy network who takes down presidents here.
There is no deep state, and we need to stop talking about it.
The deep state doesn't exist. Okay, the spoiler alert, there is no deep state.
And they're going to be like roaches. They are going to be pests. They are not going to just go away. It's going to take a lot of work, to put it nicely. Appoint lawyers who will bless his agenda as lawful. Yep. But then of course you have Joe Biden, who says, "Oh, we're going to just eliminate student debt," even though he admitted that it's not lawful and did it anyway. So this is all absolutely backwards. It goes on. Aggressively expand his first-term efforts to upend America's trade policies. Impose a universal baseline tariff, a new tax on most imported goods. Why would they not want to do that? They love nothing more than to tax Americans, but when it comes to imposing tariffs on other countries, oh, that's bad? I'm not understanding. Implement steep new trade restrictions on China to wrench apart the world's two largest economies. And here they are going to bat for China. Retreat from military engagement with Europe. Potentially undercut or withdraw the U.S. from NATO alliance. Aim to settle the Russia-Ukraine war within 24 hours. Why would that be bad? I mean, is it because you're money laundering and you are able to virtue signal that you want to go to bat for Ukraine or something, even though it's all completely fake and they're totally criminals? And it wasn't that long ago, what was it, 2018 or 2019, when there were articles left, right, and center about how corrupt Ukraine was. But then something changed and it became the bastion of democracy, and we had to save it through war. And now if you want to end that war, that's a bad thing, as I'm understanding, right? I mean, somebody make this make sense, right? I need one of these weirdo people in the comments who have been totally manipulated to help me understand what the hell it is they're saying. Use military force in Mexico and on American soil. Declare war on drug cartels in Mexico. Doesn't sound that bad, unless you are President Bo Biden and you're buddies with the president of Mexico, or I guess the former president of Mexico. Now they have a lady, and it's going to be super safe and effective. Of course, it's already cartel run, right? I mean, they're in charge, and there's no way around that. Use federal troops at the border. Oh, no. Well, what else would they be for? Right? Is it to protect the border between Russia and Ukraine? What else would the federal... I could make the argument almost that that's all they need to be for. Use federal troops in Democratic-controlled cities, such as during times of protest. So, yeah, when the protesters, the peaceful protesters, get out of hand, then maybe we could deploy some federal troops there. But that's super scary, and that's what the New York Times wants you to know. And there's a whole bunch of people, I already went through some of these, but there's a whole bunch of people in there who just Can't tell. Right? Thanks, but no thanks. I'll take the guy with no felony convictions and doesn't feel the need to strip women of their reproductive rights. Can you write an article about how to move to another country? I hope there's enough educated people. Yeah, that's true, right? Enough educated people. People who have been through the indoctrination camps. And, education is one of their dystopian Democrat doublespeak euphemisms for people that are just going to obey. But that aside, the same post has been co-opted by joyless Orwell Trump wig wearing Reed, and she says, are normal people really willing to live with this? Why? Because you think eggs will cost $2 less? We are an unserious country. And she has reposted this, obviously from the New York Times, but she took it from Charlemagne the Fraud, who took it from the New York Times. So is this, are they doing this on purpose? Is this authentic? Did they just see this and say, I have to share this with my audience? Or is there something a little bit more sinister going on and somebody is being paid to help them administer this to as many people as possible? And joyless Orwell Trump wig wearing Reed is actually worse than the New York Times. I mean, she's completely crazy. At least the New York Times can report regular news once in a blue moon. Joy Reid will never actually do that. And her comment section is even more rabid, even more insane. Kind of like Gilead, but without the handmaids. I mean, look, these people, his agenda is nasty work. Look, and it just goes on and on. There's obviously not one positive comment in here, or one rational person in there, because A, she might actually be deleting them, but B, those people are going to be completely rabid. They're going to jump down your throat, pause, but they are going to try to get you banned. They're trying to get you, they rule with an iron fist. They are, for lack of a better term, absolute fascists. But on the plus side, Charlemagne the Fraud has also posted this. This is where joyless Orwell Trump wig wearing Weave stole it from, even though obviously it comes from the New York Times. So kudos to them for producing something that I guess is getting heavily repurposed. But that aside, here's the good thing. This is obviously the same post, all the same slides. But in his comment section, which is a little bit more sane, now Jemele Hill, we all know how awful she is, but you can see that it's a little bit more level-headed. No need to convince me. I'm already voting for him. Not sure how helpful these doomsday and Armageddon scenarios are towards either of these candidates. That's pretty level-headed. I don't see anything wrong with this, LOL. So the migrants flooding the city isn't an issue, right? And these are the people they are trying to reach, right? That's why they have been so desperately trying to get Charlemagne the Fraud on board. And he still kind of is, right? To have the president tell him directly to his face, if you don't vote for me, you're not black, and have him say, well, I'm still going to do it, but I'm not going to endorse you wholeheartedly, because Charlemagne knows that his audience is largely hip to this, right? Shout out to Amber Rose. Yeah, a bunch of us were brainwashed back in 2016, but we're not anymore. We were possessed by the fake news media, but you guys overplayed the hand, and we can all see it now. So Charlemagne's comment section, and look, I don't want to go through all of them, but I did look through some of it, and they basically know what's yeah, that all sounds good. Trump 2024, dog. Trump 24. Yeah, see, they know. So if you tune into Joy Reid or the New York Times, then it's going to be more of the same in the weird echo chamber. And of course, they're going to scream outside of that and call you the cultist, even though I could, of course, make the argument that Charlemagne's audience is the most level-headed and willing to accept new facts as they arise. And here is a little bit more, right? Same, but different. Not the same article, obviously, but from the Daily Beast, they say right-wing pundits appear to believe Hunter Biden may escape a guilty verdict in his gun trial, with many already suggesting the whole thing is rigged. Obviously. There's like a court, a kangaroo court in Delaware that is beholden to the Biden crime family, and obviously they're not going to convict him. It's rigged in the same exact way that the Trump case in New York was rigged. It's all a show. We know the outcome from the beginning. It goes on. The new abnormal team says that if that sounds familiar, it's because it was the same play they made in the lead up to Donald Trump being found guilty in his hush money trial. And yes, it is true, right? It's not, bro, it's not that difficult. It's not that conspiratorial to say that, oh, well, the whole reason that they threw all of these cases at Trump from Georgia, we don't even talk about the Georgia case anymore, right? Big Fat Furious Phony Fannie Pack Willis, and the mugshot was worldwide famous. And then, of course, she was stepping out with a married man, and it was completely corrupt, to put it nicely, of course. We don't talk about that anymore. Now it's all about this hush money trial, and he's guilty. He's a convicted felon. He's a convicted felon. He's a convicted felon.
Donald Trump, the twice impeached former president and current Republican nominee, is now running as a convicted felon.
2 words: convicted felon.
Convicted felon.
Donald Trump, twice impeached, convicted felon.
A convicted felon.
The former leader of the free world, Donald Trump, now a convicted felon.
A convicted felon.
He is now tonight a convicted felon.
And he's a felon now.
Donald Trump is a convicted felon.
Do we want to be represented, to be led for the first time in history by a convicted felon?
A former president of the United States, now a convicted felon.
You don't want a convicted felon in the Oval Office.
Donald Trump has been found guilty.
Could you say it again slower for me, please? It would be lovely.
Guilty.
Yeah.
All 34.
Could you say it again slower for me, please? It would be lovely.
I didn't want to do this.
I'm calling kangaroo court on this court.
Kangaroo court. It's a kangaroo court.
I'm calling kangaroo court because...
Yes, it was obviously rigged from the start, right? I mean, there's so many hypocrisies. There's so many levels to this two-tiered justice system. It's not even funny, but it goes on. Fox News host Jesse Waters suggested this week that there may be too many people of color on the jury to deliver a guilty verdict. And this, of course, is the same publication that did a one-on-one interview with Hunter Biden about how he was so mad that he was going to sue Fox News. So this is obviously, I guess to their credit, they're not even pretending to be neutral any longer. It's called jury nullification. It's when you pick a jury that will give you a not guilty verdict. They know you're guilty, but they just disagree with the law. That's correct. Look, and they're going to try to take Jesse Waters out of context or whatever. But for them to say that MAGA is scared senseless that Hunter Biden will be acquitted, I just don't think that's the case, right? Oh, they're scared senseless? No, they're all hip to the scam, and people are maybe vocalizing their displeasure with this corrupt system. And last one, from The Economist, speaking of people being scared, they say when Donald Trump faces American voters in November, he will do so with a band of billionaire backers. Business-minded Republican elites had shunned the former president after he tried to overturn the last election result. But today, those same people appear to be looking for a reason to set aside their scruples. Yes, because maybe this was actually real, and maybe people are learning as they go. Maybe people are taking facts as they come, and they can realize, okay, that I think J.D. Vance is a perfect example of somebody who didn't like Trump, and I was like, oh, I get it. It all makes sense. So the Daily Beast claims that MAGA, which I guess is just anybody who likes Donald Trump, anybody who supports Donald Trump, anybody who donated $5, anybody who didn't donate anything but plans to vote for Donald Trump, that's MAGA, and they're scared that Hunter Biden is going to be acquitted. And we all know, it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyways, if a fraction of the things that Hunter Biden is accused of was lobbed at any of the Trump children, they would be in a jail cell right now. But the image says, don't do it. America's billionaires should resist the urge to support Donald Trump. And this, of course, I believe to be a direct response to, was it that Sachs guy, some tech billionaire out in San Francisco, who held a big fundraiser for Donald Trump, and I think was also at one point vocally anti-Trump, but has finally come around because Beau Biden and that band of criminals, they're obviously coming for his money, among other things that are completely terrible. But I think this is them speaking directly to that. So they saw the fundraiser, they saw the big inflatable Donald Trump chicken, and now they're saying, no, don't do it. No, don't. But it's the MAGA crowd that's scared about Hunter Biden, right? Don't do it. You should not do it, even though we can all see it. And the New York Times is telling you, look, he's going to do all these pretty amazing things. We're going to paint them as awful things, and the bots in the comments are going to agree with us for the most part. But then, as we know, Charlemagne the Fraud and his even though the ladies, if you can call them that, at The View, quite literally tried to bully him into saying, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden, he's amazing. He wouldn't do that because maybe he has a tiny bit of self-esteem, so he just can't do exactly what the guy told him directly to his face to do. So instead he says, democracy is on the ballot. I mean, Charlemagne the Fraud is a complete coward at best. And I genuinely don't think Charlemagne's right in between, right? There's the morons who just blindly believe whatever these people feed them. And then there's the evil contingent of the Beau Bidens and the Nancy Pelosi's and the Gavin Newsoms and stuff like that. And I think Charlemagne is right in between because I genuinely don't think he's that stupid, but he does know that he can't get too far off the plantation.